I wanted to talk to you about a subject that is so common amongst black people. Why don't we trust each other? So, as you know, I'm a poet, I'm a writer, um, I'm an author. You can find any of my books on Amazon, Myrna Loy. And yes, I'm just going to, but I have to say that my books aren't academic. They're purely based on personal experiences and they're very light-hearted. So let me share with you the one today, and it's about the mistrust between black people. I've been thinking lately about the space that sometimes appears between black people. Not hostility, not anger, just a subtle guardedness, a quiet hesitation like we're all carrying invisible bags, packed long before we were born. And I keep coming back to this truth. We didn't create distance between each other, we inherited it. Because once upon a time, somebody realized that the easiest way to control a people was to keep them from trusting one another. So they separated families, split tribes, mixed languages, punished connections, rewarded silence, forced strangers to survive side by side with no map, no history, no shared safety. And distrust grew from that. Not because black people failed each other, but because the system made sure we couldn't lean too far in any direction without risking harm. Later, when slavery ended, the method changed, but the goal didn't. Communities were underfunded, opportunities were scarce, housing was limited, policing was aggressive, media images were distorted. And when people live under pressure, when resources are tight, and when the world feels unpredictable, trust becomes one of the first things to fracture. Not because people don't care, but because they're tired. And tired people build walls around their heart out of instinct. But here's the part that softens me every time I say it out loud. None of this came from a lack of love. Black people, black communities have always fought to love, to protect, to uplift, to survive together, despite the circumstances. And we've seen that with Hurricane Melissa and Jamaica. You know how people have helped Haiti and Cuba and Jamaica, and everybody's pulling together. So it's true. The hesitation was sometimes, the hesitation we sometimes feel is a scar, not a character flaw. A reminder of what was done to us, not who we are. And that is why repair isn't impossible. It's not even complicated. It begins with recognition, with saying to each other, I see you. I understand why you're cautious. I understand why I am too. And I also know we don't have to keep carrying what history put on our shoulders. Healing comes from small things, conversations that tell the truth, listening without judgment, supporting each other's efforts, celebrating each other's wins, being patient with each other's wounds, building spaces where vulnerability feels safe, not risky. Trust doesn't return all at once. It comes back quietly through consistency, through kindness, through remembering that the person in front of you is not your enemy. They are another survivor of a story you both inherited. And when we look at each other with that understanding, that deep human empathy, the space between us doesn't vanish. It just becomes somewhere we can walk across together, piece by piece, day by day, human to human. Because underneath everything, we were never meant to stand so far apart. In summary, black people are not naturally distrustful of each other. Distrust is not a cultural flaw. It is a historical injury with modern consequences. The roots are deep, deliberate, and structural. And it started with slavery. During the transatlantic slave trade, enslaved Africans were intentionally separated from family, placed with sabers. Sorry, let me start again. I'm swallowing my teeth. During the transatlantic slave trade, enslaved Africans were intentionally separated from family, placed with strangers from different ethnic groups, punished for bonding, rewarded for informing on each other, forced into competition for basic survival. Enslavers understood one thing clearly: if a people trust each other, they can resist. If they distrust each other, they remain controllable. This was engineered, not accidental. Distrust was seeded as a tool of domination. It was a strategy. Divide and conquer, or what they'd like to say, divide and control. So throughout slavery and colonialism, systems were designed to fracture black unity. For example, colorism. The lighter-skinned enslaved people were sometimes placed in the house, darker skin in the field. This created resentment, hierarchy, and false superiority. If one person rebelled, everyone would be punished. This created internal policing. Don't cause trouble. Don't get us all hurt. And that forced dependency. The thing is that if you know that if you do something, everybody's going to be harmed, you're more likely not to do it, aren't you? So, forced dependency. Enslaved people depended on owners, not each other, for food, clothing, direction, which distorted relationships between black people. And that is the history of why we mistrust. We mistrust because we've been taught. And you would think that, okay, that was so many years ago. Why are we distrusting people now? But it's kind of a learned behaviour. It's handed down from generation to generation. You can't trust black people, He would do you that. He would do you this, or whatever the people say. It's passed down from generation to generation. The same way racism is passed down from generation to generation. That inferiority complex that so many of us have is generational, and it's passed down to our children in things we say, how we say it, how we believe. My mother always used to say to me, Myrna, you're going to have to work 10 times harder than any white person. I was young, impressionable. It didn't dawn on me to say why. I mean, when I'm working now, I don't work any harder than any of my white colleagues. So why was that message fed to us? Why were we made to feel that we have to work 10 times harder? And that's what happens when you get these messages constantly as a young person. That's how it feeds into today's generation. It might die out. You'll find that the younger people today, they don't have that mindset. You can't tell a younger person that they're not as good as anybody else. And it's like Lamine Yamal. They're saying he's a bit cocky. You can't tell him he's not as good as any white person, or even better. You can't tell him that. And so it's kind of slowly dispelling as the younger people do not take on the fact that they are less than. And sometimes it frustrates police officers because they just do not understand why black people can be so cocky. They call it arrogant, but it's just confidence. A lot of them are more educated now. They know their rights. They know how to stand up. But does it do them any good? No, they just can get beat upon even harder. So once again, you'll find parents saying, look, don't cause any trouble. Don't backchat. Just keep quiet. Keep under the covers. Keep under wraps. Don't make any noise. Don't disturb anything. Don't make a nuisance of yourself. Once again, dumbing down, dumbing down, dumbing down. But anyway, I hope this makes sense to you.